Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I'm on Zoom right now, and I'm going to say your name the English way first. Henrik Larsson. Hi, Henrik.
Hi.
And
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. As you know, we've been emailing for feels like a full year almost, but I know it just started earlier this year. But first, I'm going to do my best to call you Hanke. Henke. See? Yeah. Henke. So that, because I said, what's the best way to pronounce your name? And you said, the only time someone calls you Henrik or Henrik or Henrik is when your mom's mad. So yeah. That's Jeffrey for me. I totally understand when there's a version of one's name that is when you're in trouble. So Hanke.
Yeah.
Close enough? All right, I'm trying. All right.
Yeah, well, you're doing good.
Well, we are talking now because your film Pierre West was at Film Invasion Los Angeles in June. And oh my God, it's well, first I'll say that it took home a couple of awards. It took home the award for Best Lead Performer and Best Screenplay. And you co-wrote the screenplay and you co-directed the film, and it's a fantastic, incredibly unique film. And you, as you're in Sweden, you let us know at the festival that you were going to try to travel, but you weren't sure if you could travel. So that's when you and I started emailing back and forth. And it was so cool because thankfully I'm lucky. I guess I'm lucky that I run 2 film festivals. So there's Film Invasion Los Angeles every June and Sherman Oaks Film Festival in December. And you were like, well, I think I can come in December. I'm like, okay, well, let's definitely play in December, but maybe we can squeeze it into the theater in June. And as I recall, it was actually pretty late in the game, right? We were getting near the festival, and I believe it was 1 or 2 people let us know that they couldn't make it in person for a Q&A. And as I hope you know, we do a 15-minute Q&A for every short, devoted to that short. So when 2 people drop out, that clears up 30 minutes of theater time. And all of a sudden we could show with I assume you consider Pierre West a short.
Yeah.
At our festival, 20 to 60 minutes we call Featurette, just so that the featurettes can live in their own awards universe. Because obviously, a thoughtful, smart, original 30-minute short film and a 7-minute short film should not be. They're such different beasts as far as storytelling goes. So we just decided to separate them, make 20 minutes the breaking point. So to me, you won Best Screenplay Featurette, even though to you it's a short film.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice experience, and I tried to make it, but I was shooting a series for Swedish television at the time, and I looked up the plane tickets, and if I went on Thursday night, I could see the film, say hi to everyone, and then go to LAX again and go back home and be ready to start shooting on Monday.
So that would have been too much. That definitely not worth it. Well, fingers crossed you can make it in December.
Yeah,
Either way, I believe it'll be in the theater again. But I'll tell you, I only get to be in about, we have 3 screens at once at the festival, so I don't get to witness the audience reaction and everything. But I was in the theater I was in your block for that. I was in the theater for your block, and so I actually did get to pretend to be you briefly, because I said to everyone, by the way, the team that made Pierre West couldn't travel from Sweden, and people started asking me questions. You can imagine the questions they were asking me. We'll get to that when the time comes, I suppose. I don't want to, and I'll also mention for everyone listening that you're still on the festival circuit, of course. So yeah. I assume it's not available for people to watch yet.
No, we had a short window on YouTube, but we actually took it down from there. And we're talking with some people from Film Invasion about there's a website, on demand website. That hasn't been set in stone yet, but it's we're getting there. But it's touring the world festival wise.
It's touring the world, so people should try to see it. In fact, in the show notes, there will be if you have a website and social media for the film, there will be and for yourself, there will be clickable links in the show notes. So I certainly would encourage people to see it because it's, besides being a fantastic film, it's just so original and so unique, and that comes from the way you made it. But before you explain to me everything and also the little things I learned from about it, before we get to that, you want to share your personal story of how you got into the creative arts and writing and directing and actually working quite a bit as a cinematographer?
Yeah, I'm I'm 43 years old, so now I'm semi-old. But I guess it all started somewhere in the early 90s. Renting VHS tapes with my parents on the weekend, and one of my first real experiences watching a film that really grabbed hold of me was the old classic Speed with Keanu Reeves.
That really is a classic, by the way. I love it. It's inspiring.
Yeah. And yeah, it really, Mark Benzina's score, we instantly, me and Jacob, the co-director of Pierre West, we bought the score on the local record store and made our own films with our VHS camera and put all the songs from Speed on our films, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, made total sense for our early action movies. And then at this time, when I started like high school, there was you couldn't study film in our city, so we had to study a language, and that language was German, which was super boring. So I courted some friends of mine and told them we don't have to study German if we group together and go to media instead. So they actually started that class for us, and then we could study it. So that was sort of the first thing, that and a teacher who saw that our class was really we were sort of rowdy and not really interested in learning stuff. So he told us you can use this camera and make a film if you think that's more fun. And we did that, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And he was a really important part in my young life to sort of tell me to validate what we were doing. So I was playing hockey at the time, but filmmaking sort of show. What do you call it? It sort of took over.
Right. It became your primary interest.
Yeah, you could say that. So when school was finished, I left playing hockey. However, one of my specialities as a cinematographer is to use inlines when I shoot. So I still have a small part of hockey in me.
I hope you can make it to Los Angeles in December. And I just have to tell you, one of our alumni who's also like on our filmmakers board and has become a friend of mine, he does the same thing. He's a cinematographer, and he does lots of shoots on inline skates because he's an excellent rollerblader, inline skater, I guess is probably the better way, more preferable term. And he does industrial films where like he will even do like going around a warehouse.
Yeah.
Inline. Yeah, so that's a cool niche.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, nowadays when when there's like gimbals, you know, the DJI Ronin, which has made my life easier. But before that, when making really low budget films, of course you could use a wheelchair, but when you're on inline seats, that's
it's different. It's a very unique perspective.
Yeah. I saw behind the scenes footage from the new film Weapons, where the cinematographer was or the operator was skating on inlines, and it's even in Hollywood.
Very cool, and very cool that you had such. Besides having, well, first of all, it's very cool that you and your good friend from childhood started having fun making speed type films, and then you're still working together all these years later. That's extremely cool. And then how cool that besides your disinterest in German, but the fact that your interest did inspire creating this program, that must have, like you said, that must have been so validating to be able to do it. And then to see your work, right? Because you got to shoot and watch together, and that's a fantastic foundation for filmmaking.
Yeah, and then we went to sort of university, and I don't know what that's called in English, but you sort of have a period of time where you leave school and go out to a workplace to
internships or residency.
Exactly. Yeah. So I did that when leaving the university and never came back. So that was my road into getting to know everyone in the industry, and I stayed ever since. This is like maybe 2002, 2003 maybe. And I've been in the Swedish, camera
in the industry. It's really the filmmaking industry, film and television.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't necessary to stay at university and get a degree in it because you were getting so much practical experience and just taking off from there.
I think I got the degree, but
you did stick it out. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever shown it to anyone, or the opportunity to get in on a production and get to know people, which it's so much word of mouth. So the next production leads to the next production, and and that was really the road forward. I mean, the show Survivor,
of course, yeah,
it was first made in Sweden, but in Sweden it's called Expedition Robinson, from Robinson Crusoe. So that was my next job, to go to Malaysia and film Survivor. Which was super cool to do as a 22-year-old, to see the world and also do what I thought was the best thing, to use a camera.
That is very cool. Wow, I know all these people in Los Angeles you should be friends with, because I know people who work on those kinds of shows, and those kind of shows. That must have been a very. Was it a great experience working on a show like that, where there's just so, I imagine there's a lot of cameras around and a lot of people to learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, in a lot of ways, you learn so much, and you meet, friends for life, because it's such an adventure. And one thing I remember is I had a real phobia for snakes when I went there, and the guy who sort of decides where all the cameras are supposed to be, he decided that the crane, is it called that, the crane, that was put next to me, and they also hung up a big snake next to my camera, because they were going to do like a cool crane shot with the snake in the foreground, and there was so it was sort of therapeutic in a way. Also, I'm not as scared of snakes anymore.
So interesting. I don't know if you saw how vehemently I was shaking my head. Yes, I've had a paralyzing fear of snakes really for ever since I was a little boy and went to a zoo and a massive snake followed me along and my mother joked he wants to eat you. Ever since then, don't like being around them. But I never had a gig like that where I was forced to be around a snake and realize that it's not going to kill me. So I still have a problem with them. But even on screen for films, I tend to look away and filmmakers use snakes a lot.
Yeah. It was. It's a nice thing to get rid of.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so you were working on that, and then I mean, what about the writing side? Have you, because you and Jacob, your friend, co-wrote Pierre West.
Yeah.
So were you always writing too stuff on the side?
I'd say yeah. We've written screenplays since we were 15 years old, and well, as it is for everyone, not everything gets produced, but we sure have written a lot. We're drinking a lot of coffee and talked about movies and wrote stuff. And in 2007, I mean, that's a couple of years after Survivor, we started talking about Pierre West and what we wanted to do with that film. And I remember we wrote like a treatment and sent it to someone to get some development money. We were so excited because we thought we had such a great idea. And then they said, no, you can't have this money. And we were like, really sad. But I'm glad now that didn't stop us, because, it's you really need to fight for it, as you know.
Yeah. And when you were working in sounds like, were you working more in television than film in Sweden?
Yeah.
Mostly television, yeah. Because there's probably more of it, I imagine.
Yeah. There's basically, I'd say there's different sides of the industry, and wherever you go, where you start or where you're currently working, you sort of get your next job from that sort of circle.
Exactly, always.
So I'd say I'm quite happy with being able to work in a lot of different circumstances. I mean, I've done commercials and drama and music videos and documentaries and Survivor. So I'm really happy about making different stuff, because whatever I'm doing, of course there's stuff I like more than other stuff, but whatever I'm doing, I'm sort of, you can sort of learn from, that thing I learned here, I can apply that to that thing over there, even though it's a documentary. You can pick stuff from a documentary and put it into Pierre West, and suddenly it feels really authentic, because I know how to make stuff feel really real. So there's real. I'm not saying I came up with this. I'm not saying that it's my idea, but I've heard people talk about it before, and I really learned from other people to do a lot of different stuff to sort of get your tools really sharp. And that's what I try to. That's what I try to do. But of course, I'm also always learning. So there's definitely there's definitely days where I feel I know what I'm doing. I'm super confident, but there's absolutely days where I feel worthless, where I'm like, oh, I can't do this, and it's sort of, I like that feeling because that sort of pushes me to try to be better, and the progress, trust trust the process.
We all get those imposter syndrome moments where we just feel like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm faking it. Everyone's going to find out that I'm a fraud, and it's over. And then you realize, no, everybody has those feelings. It is a universal human experience, I think.
Yeah.
But I was curious, were there other shorts that you worked on besides Pierre West, or?
Yeah, we've been to festivals before. Both me and Jacob. We did a nice little action movie called Seven Warriors. That's had a good run, but that's ages ago. So I wouldn't show it to anyone nowadays, but but it did it did good at festivals, but I'd say Jacob has done more movies, more short films than I have. I've done more cinematography for television, and he has done more short films than I have. So sort of. When we restarted Pierre West in 2020, well, first of all, there was editing of the old material, but then when we started shooting the new material, that was sort of, in a way, the first time me and Jacob had done something drama in a long time. Okay, we had done some music videos and maybe some commercials together, but we hadn't done a short film in a long time. So I mean, that was an awesome little thing too, which I sort of forget about now because we're friends, so I don't think about it. But yeah, that was there's so many good things with that film. Both, I mean, if you ask me, both in front of the camera, but a lot of nice stuff behind the camera also.
Yeah, well, and it seems clear. All right, so I'll have you make it clear to everyone listening right after I say it is. I think the way this film came together really is is part of what makes it so special, because so you, in 2007, you almost had some investment, and then did you already have your cast in mind? And when that money didn't arrive, you just did it your own way back when you first did the primary or the original principal photography. Around what year was that?
So we started shooting in 2007 because we took some stills, and I can see on the metadata I can see the date. So otherwise I wouldn't have known. But we had a little bit of money from like a local regional fund that gave us some money. So I had a little bit, but we also had, at that time, a producer which sort of ran with the money. I'm not sure that has ever been settled, but we sort of wouldn't let that stop us. So we started shooting, but we shot really documentary style. This is 2007, so this was, I just bought a JVC, what was the HDV, an HDV camera, which back then was, state of the art. But so we just started shooting, and we had actually done some local television when studying, And then we met Tomas, who plays Pierre, and we did some short skits with him, and we thought he was awesome. So we started, sort of started. Well, we had an idea, but we shot a lot of stuff, not knowing where to fit it in, and But I'd say we were sort of like how it seems Terrence Malick is shooting his films, shooting a lot of stuff to just find what's the tone, what's the
right. So instead of having a planned out script where you're literally just shooting the script, or you actually had the concept for the character, and you had Thomas, and you experimented with this character. Really, the character developed in front of the camera.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But we also wrote stuff as we were shooting. So we wrote scenes, and we wrote dialogue, and we wrote scene orders. But we really tried to do it. I mean, I sort of don't like the term organically because it's sort of overused, but it really was sort of organically. We had an idea to make a film where the whole film was split screen with Eva and Pierre, but we sort of had some problems with the Eva part. I felt that that part of the story was sort of always coming as not like a main character, more like a side story, and so I don't know if I ever thought it really worked, but that was the idea, and I think, but I think why we stopped filming was a little bit because it was it was much more tough to shoot that part of the story. And also, we got different jobs, and we don't live in the same city. So there was a lot of hurdles. And for a long time, there was no film. So, I mean, that could have been the end of the story. But somehow that main character, Pierre West, sort of stayed in our mind and stayed in our heart. And we, you have a sort of a group chat or text messages with each other to text funny stuff. Oh, how would Pierre have done in this situation? What would he have said here? Oh, this is such a Pierre moment. Like the other day, someone walked past me and talked about the new Mission Impossible movie, but they called it Michigan Impossible. So I instantly took my phone up and texted Tomas and said, this was a Pierre moment, just happened to me. When the film was like dead in the water until 2020, when I left my apartment in central Stockholm and moved to a house just outside Stockholm. And in one of my boxes, I found the hard drive, which when I saw it, it had probably been in the attic in the apartment building. And then when I opened it up in my house, I saw that hard drive, and I was like, I know what's on that drive. I know I'm a better storyteller now than when I tried to edit this last time. So I got nothing to lose. There's no client. There's nothing stressing. There's no rush. I can do this for 10 years. But let's see if there's a story here. And quite instantly, I felt there's something here. There's something here in this character, and I can see a beginning, middle, and end here. So and it took off from there.
And really the beginning and middle had been shot 13 years earlier, and then you saw how to shoot a new ending in a way. Or when
Yeah,
when did the idea to shoot additional, to create, to, because obviously it's one of the things that was asked of me. People that was that, how did they do that? Blah blah blah. And I just stood there in front of the theater before after all the other Q&As had finished, because yours was the last of the block, obviously, and I said, no, that was all real. They shot stuff in '07 and they shot stuff in 2024. There was a 17-year gap. That's why all the aging looks perfect, because it's real.
yeah,
And it really is so unique. I got to tell you, everybody said it was a packed theater, and everybody was just blown away by the work, but blown away by the film, because as you said, it's actually a character that is so well defined that you can say that's a Pierre moment. like, you know what I mean? Like how many characters in films are so well defined that real life moments remind you of them? That's how uniquely genuine this character is.
well, thank you for saying that, and I can only echo what you said about the comments about the makeup. We've had festivals emailing us asking, how did you do the age makeup? And I think it's also quite funny that Tomas, because he's sort of one of the sort of, maybe the D plot is sort of food, so he's eating the whole film, and he's gaining weight throughout the film also. And nowadays he has really toned himself down, but throughout filming he sort of gained weight through those years. So that was not intended at all, but sort of it works so good in the story, as an underlying note.
I have to tell you that I believe at the screening, a middle-aged woman came up, or a woman my age came up to me. I think she was the parent of someone who had a film in the block, and she said, I grew up in Stockholm. That pastry is like that pastry he's eating and getting his face covered in frost or whatever that the frosting is, probably not frosting, it's the filling. She named it, and she said that is every time I go to Stockholm, that the first thing I do is I go straight to a bakery and I eat one of the. She loved the inclusion of that. She felt it was such a Swedish thing for you to have in there, and his clear addiction, he's always eating one.
Yeah. Those are.
But she picked it out. She pointed out, as she shared with me. I was like, oh wow. So, because to me, it's really just funny to see him, because he's generally on the phone, I think, as he's eating and dealing with mess on his face.
Yeah. Those are called semla. So I'll bring one when I come to the Sherman Oaks.
Wonderful.
No, but I think regarding the middle of the film where the time jump occurs, that was sort of after editing for basically 2 years, and of course this was not a full-time job. I had other projects, and this was my graveyard shift editing before real work and after kids and girlfriend went to sleep. Then I could sit by the computer and edit. So that's why it took so long. But the good thing about that is you really get to get a feel for the material, and you can try stuff, and stuff I tried when editing Pierre, I could use in my professional life to, like, oh, I know this will work because I'm editing a scene in another project just like this. So I could, like, it was sort of my practice dough to sort of play with. And yeah, it was really a really nice experience. But after in 2022, we sort of started having meetings about, okay, maybe we should not just finish this old film, because when it hits an audience, people will say, "Oh, nice of you to finish it. Maybe we should just use all this time that has passed." And so then we started having Zoom calls where we started talking about, okay, what has happened since then. And quite early on, since he sort of, well, the film lets the audience decide if he knows that he's not a professional toy car driver, or if he is just lying. That's up for you to decide. But we sort of, okay, if that is '07, what is he doing now? And quite early we came up with the idea, oh, of course he drives a cab. And that also quite early we knew that, okay, that's where they meet. And so that's how we connect them, because she just happens to be one of his customers. And then we just wrote it. Got an app on the phone to not get stopped by, oh, I need time to sit by the computer and I need time to write. Any time I could, I sat there and wrote some scenes, and we shot it basically the same way as the old material. We shot a lot of stuff that's not in the film, but the ending we sort of really blocked out and put quite a good amount of time capturing.
And an obvious question is, were you friends with Tomas the whole time, and also Alexandra Lindquist?
Yeah.
You were able to just reach out to them and say, hey, we're interested in revisiting these characters.
Well, actually, no. When I started editing in 2020, I reached out to Tomas quite early, because since there's voiceover in the film, I was, of course, super excited to see that there's a story here. But of course, I quite instantly needed him to help me get his voice on the voiceover. I'm sure I did some temp track, but it really made a huge difference to when he lent his voice to the thoughts, so to speak. And he was, of course, super excited also. Which, yeah, it became a restart of our relationship in a really nice way. We found out that we both root for the same hockey team. We didn't know that, so now we text on the daily about stuff that Pierre would have done, and also about our crappy hockey team that will never win, unfortunately. So there's a lot of pain, but yeah, it was really a really nice relationship developed, a creative one that sort of, yeah, it's really, I'm super happy how everything became what it is. And in terms of Alex, I hadn't met her since, I hadn't talked to her since, I think, '07, when we shot the film. Maybe once or twice, but basically we had no contact. I don't think we even had each other on Facebook. But through Tomas, I got her number, because they live in the same city. And I reached out, and then by then the old version of the film was finished. It was edited, and I sent it to her and said, okay, we have this. What if we make something more? And she loved it, and said, oh, I'm in. So yeah, it was awesome. And when they came to Stockholm in the fall of 2022, and we had, I think, 1 or 2 days together where we rehearsed a little bit. We had some, and then we shot the ending together. And I remember being, when you're super duper tired, but you're tired with people who are equally tired, and we just had a pizza, and we were, so giggly, but so happy with what we had captured. It was a awesome day.
It must have been, and not to, I guess I'll avoid saying anything that's too much of a spoiler, but there was so much rich material in their previous encounter, which these two characters had a connection over on a phone call, we'll say, and then you were able to just, I mean, honestly, it's just brilliant writing. I think the writing is so brilliant for that second half where there's all these very, I'll call them natural, I'll avoid the word organic, natural development of pets were named after, there were pets whose names were inspired by their, it's just such a, it's almost too good to be, like, you couldn't have written it that well in the beginning. It had to be done the way you did it to have so many wonderful layers at once, because you were able to really just pull from the original material and enhance it and add to it. And it really is, I think of all things, I think it really is a film about human connection and how important, and how, even a brief connection can stay with you for a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And a lot of people who talk to us at festivals say the same thing. Oh, I know people just like this, and this makes me think about X, Y, Z. And I like that people seem to both get emotionally connected to the film, but it also sort of starts their own thinking, and it's sort of, it's food for thought, sort of expression that fits. I like that, because when we sort of wrote it, but also when we edited, a really conscious choice was to let the audience, not overdo it. So sort of not right on the nose. I don't know if that's an English expression, but it's, okay. Not be too obvious with stuff, but sort of let those inner layers trust the audience.
Trust the audience to make connections, and by being subtle, I think you create an intense. It's what's on screen is so peaceful and serene in a way. The scene is so serene, and yet the audience members are tense with excitement. It's very actually a very powerful ending to the film, because we're really, we've been invested in these characters now for what feels like decades, and you leave it up to us to decide what happens next, I think, which is I think it's just it manages to be in its own way a thriller at the end, in a way. Like it's really a thrilling conclusion, in a way, because you leave the conclusion in our minds too.
Yeah, and that's of course fully intentional, because how would one summarize what that moment would be? I think it's sort of like, in Lost in Translation, when Bill Murray sort of whispers something. I think that's a really nice moment where I can decide what he whispers, and better that way. Or in, I don't know if it's like that in the American The Office, but in the English The Office, the original one, the 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 straight guy, I don't Martin Freeman, he's in love with the receptionist, and when he sort of sitting in an interview realizes, why haven't I just told her? I'm such a stupid man. And he removes his microphone and exits the interview and go over there and tell her, but we can't hear what he's saying. Also super beautiful to sort of let me decide. Or in another genre, maybe more of a thriller. Actually, I think one of our inspirations for our ending is the ending of Inception. The thing that spins on the table. That sort of is that prolonged. I just want to know, and well, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to tip my hat, but that to get the audience to want something that much is of course good, because when I'm watching a film, I love to be emotionally engaged, and if that's something we succeeded with this film to do to the audience, I'm super happy. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, and you should be, because engagement is. It's funny. I overuse the word engage at this point in my life, because I just love. I think that is actually that's the crux of art and filmmaking, is to engage your audiences, to engage the people paying attention to this work. Whether it's you just want to make people feel, and as a human being alive in 2025. Our lives are filled with distractions and short attention span moments. And when someone makes a film like yours, I actually experience, sometimes I'll say my partner, she'll watch submissions with me a lot of the time. And like after watching a film like Pierre West, I'll say to her, I am so happy now, because that film just proved to me there's nothing wrong with my attention span. I just need something engaging. It doesn't have to be fast, keep me interested. As long as I get emotionally invested and I'm engaged and I care about what's happening with these characters, with this story, it can be, a bit of a passive story. It can have a lead character who doesn't grow. There's all kinds of things that a filmmaker can do, that a storyteller can do, as long as we care. And the only time I have a short attention span is when I don't care. I really appreciate in this world where, needless to say, I try not to have a phone in the room when I'm watching submissions, because the phone can ruin your experience with anything. But yeah, if you're engaged, you don't even think of looking at your phone.
Yeah. I'm happy you got engaged by it, because that's. I totally agree. I think that's the most important thing, because that's what you remember. You do. Yeah, and I also like to tell stories in a lot of layers, so that you can take something from a scene, and your partner takes something else from a scene, and to really think stuff, to do it organically, but also what's to think stuff through layer wise, to have. For instance, in Pierre West, there's Pierre has a friend that's called Panayotis, and Pierre is at this point in the film, he's sort of sad throughout the film, but at this point in time, he's particularly sad, and his friend Panayotis comes into the film and sort of gives him some support and some direction, and I would say that the film both well, on the surface, the film says, "Oh, Panagiotis is such a nice friend. He's such a good guy because he gives him some sort of guidance." But one could also say that Panagiotis really doesn't really listen to Pierre, which is sort of a problem. He could definitely listen with more empathy and listen to Pierre instead of telling him what to do. Because his actual guidance, what he guides Pierre to do, Pierre is horrible at that. So, I mean, there's a lot of layers that one could interpret, different ways, and I find that to be funny. And if you ask me, the film is both funny and really dark, and people have asked me at festivals, is it okay to laugh at this? And when seeing it with an audience, you can see some people are laughing and other people are looking at the people who are laughing, and then vice versa, and then some of the scenes it's just dead silent, and that's also awesome, because then oh, we got them. They're so into it. And one of my best experiences, this was actually our Swedish premiere, because we premiered in a festival in Texas, and then like 6 months later we premiered in mine and Jacob's hometown, Umeå, and it was not a huge venue by any means, but when the film ended and the credits were shown, people knew where we were sitting in the cinema, and the audience sort of turned their heads looking at us, and they were all crying. So they were really emotionally engaged. So that was it was such a strong visual to have, to see a lot of people like bawling their eyes out, and that made me happy. So a lot of conflicting emotions, but it was such a nice experience to see it in a big venue.
I imagine, and it must have been really wonderful to watch in your hometown in many ways, because then I imagine, was there a good discussion afterwards? I would assume there'd be a great discussion, where I once had a wonderful experience in Texas, of all things. You just mentioned Texas. I normally don't talk about my past, but where a film I had made played to an audience at a festival in Texas, and then everyone debated the ending. The theater turned into like half. Everyone was just. They did not plan a Q&A at this festival. They just said, if you guys want to, and then people started going, well, did the ending mean this? And then people started arguing, and so people started like arguing different sides of what they thought the ending meant. And I was just sitting there going, hey, if you can get people having a disagreement or an argument over your ending, I felt quite rewarded by it.
Yeah.
And I imagine you did too, because I imagine there were people questioning what would happen next.
Yeah, that's a pretty common question too. But I mean, they're really. I think I like that. I like that people to leave the audience with some questions, because it's. I wouldn't say it's like saying how a magic trick works, but it is better for your experience if you get to decide that for yourself. And there's a lot of stuff in the film where you can decide for yourself. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about Pierre's past where we leave a lot of stuff up to interpretation, and what level of special Pierre is. there's a lot of different opinions about that. Some people seem to accept how he is another way than other people do. So it's interesting as a director, and really hope this isn't the last time I make a short film or a film or maybe even a film where Pierre is a character. So it's really interesting to hear all these opinions, and to hear it from an audience and not hear it from when, for instance, making something for television, when it's not released and you get sort of feedback where it's like, oh, you need to get rid of this because this won't work, and the studio notes, so to speak. That was so nice with this project, to just release it to an audience and gather it directly from the audience. It's awesome. It's scary, but awesome.
Yeah, I have to make a comment. Something that becomes more apparent to me every year running festivals is that by making such a well-defined, specific character, the more specific and true to the humanity of your characters, or even to your story, the more specific it is, the more universal it affects us. It's so interesting. If someone tries to make a universally appreciated idea or character, like, I'm going to make a character that everyone's going to identify with or everyone will see themselves in, you get nothing. Mm-hmm. But you can make a character, just so well defined, and we understand, we know enough about his past to know what this character experienced. But when the character is so clearly defined, that character becomes universal, because, and I haven't completed my thought, I guess, to be able to say why, but it just is like if someone has a generic grandfather on screen, it means nothing to me. If there's a grandfather who expresses like of something unique and is uniquely special to their grandkids, that grandfather makes me weep.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of my own, like just something specific. It's just so by making Pierre so well defined and such a unique but very complete character. I mean, I have, Thomas's performance is just unbelievable as this character. In fact, it would be so burble busting to have a conversation with him, I'm sure, because I can't picture him as anything but Pierre.
Yeah,
because Pierre is you, like you said, you leave it up to the audience. Is it just what he grew up with? Is he on the spectrum? Is he this? Is he that? It doesn't matter. He's Pierre, and we know exactly who he is. And he's so clearly defined that we all see ourselves in him. As unlike him we still can see ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. I agree that, and this is, of course, nothing we had thought about before releasing the film to film festivals, but something I've been thinking lately, when, now the film has been released for, what is it, like 8-10 months, something. It's been on its festival run. So I sort of get emails from India and Australia and South America and Europe, and it's been been shown quite a lot in the US, and it's such a great feeling to hear people sort of they all want to hug Pierre. they all want him to do well, and I said something the other day about you get sort of sad when you watch the news to see that there seems to be a lack of empathy in the world when you watch the news, and this, I know that there's empathy in the world, and it makes me happy to see that a lot of people around the world express empathy towards Pierre. Because in my opinion, that's really all it takes to sort of like this film is empathy. Because if you, for me, it's as simple as that. I want him to do well. He's been through a lot, and he is crippled by trauma. Whatever it takes, make the guy happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And boy, empathy, you make me realize that he shows empathy towards Ava.
Yeah.
At a time that she really needs. Empathy is all over this film. And then at the end, yeah, people don't even, he's such a unique person. It's not, yeah, I mean, it's not even necessarily romantic, but at the end, you're really hoping now, whatever. I don't want to, I guess I'm in avoidance of spoilers now. I'm like, really, it's so funny. But I also want to say, I'm so happy to hear that you've had such a good festival run and gotten feedback from around the world, because obviously one of the things I hear all the time as a festival runner is, people who face a challenge if their short's a little on the long side, and you're nearly half an hour. I think of, what is it, 28 minutes and change. But the festivals around the world are responding to it. It just shows that, no, you don't have to make a 12-minute short. You just have to make a really good one.
Yeah, I humbly hope you're correct. That I mean, it's. I'm just happy for whatever nice comments we get, and I'm happy for every selection, of course. And it seems to be sort of a snowball effect, if you ask me. The more it gets shown, the more festivals want to show it. That is my interpretation of this year, but I don't know. I'm just happy that people sort of express that they have thought about what they just saw. That if you make sort of a teen slasher, maybe there's not so much to think about to take with you home. But I've gotten, I mean, lots of messages from people who are really affected by it, and that's that makes me so happy that Pierre has found a place in their hearts.
Yeah, it's really, and just think how close the world was to not getting this film.
Yeah.
Were it not for a pandemic, you might have been too busy to ever revisit it, let alone your move.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's so much coincidence that has worked out so good that I was making another project for TV in Sweden, where the song in the film where he's sort of, well, there's sort of a song that's present in both the film and on the end credits, and I found that song through my work. A total coincidence. I would never have found it. And I reached out to that artist called Tomas Stenström, and I asked him, please, could I use your song? And he was like, super friendly, and said, cool, this sounds good. I don't know if he has ever seen the film, but I'll be forever grateful for him lending me that song.
Yeah, boy, the importance of music. It is funny, but music is an intrinsic part of cinema. It just is. It's and you certainly. I actually saw a really wonderful short yesterday where I want to break the composer's fingers and just say stop. You're I don't know why the it's funny. I want to go just I want to tell the director, hey, take out all that music, unnecessary music. It's distracting all the time. Use it sparingly and well. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I think it's really important to. I mean, in Pierre West, there's a moment where where he is, to not spoil anything, but he is at a hospital, so to speak. And we intentionally kept that silent because that silence is the most scary one. And yeah, it's back to the empathy thing. It really, where does that come from? The empathy. Yeah, you don't want him to be in that situation. And
No.
and speaking of empathy, one of the things I like about Pierre showing empathy is that he quite early on in the film, when Eva gets a nosebleed, he sort of instantly is there. I mean, one could question, why is he so good at nosebleeds, with the background that he has. But I mean, yeah. So empathy is really a theme in the film, and it makes me happy that the audience also has it.
For sure. And now well, okay, fine. I'll share this. So it's funny. I got to go to a thing for the TV show Andor, the Star Wars one. But it's all written by Tony Gilroy, who's a really and he expressed that he thinks empathy is the most important thing, and he thinks that creatives, people who create, people who write, when you're writing you have empathy for your own characters. Actually, if you don't have empathy for the people you're writing, the good characters and the bad guys and the good guys and this and that. And he said that's why he thinks that the film industry, if I can be biased, is very progressive and liberal in a lot of ways, because you have to have empathy for other humans to be a storyteller. You can't be a storyteller and not care about the thoughts and feelings of others.
No.
Thoughts and feelings of others is your focus. You're not just putting words in their mouth, they're speaking through you. So he said, I think empathy is the most important thing in storytelling, and it's why storytelling affects us the way it does. So yeah. Wow. So the obvious question is, I know you're very busy with your career, but are there more films on the horizon? You did give me a wonderful little nugget, which was, maybe Pierre will be in another story, and maybe he'll be a supporting character in something else. I'm sure some people have said to you at festivals, "Ooh, is there a 90-minute version of this?"
Yeah, people do want to see more. It's just, the time. If the next one takes 17 years,
so that would be pretty amazing to if let me do my math, 2042. If in 2042 or if in 2041 you grab these two actors and shoot another scene.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
we'll
you'll
see.
Have 17 years later and then another 17 years, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I actually have a lot of ideas for how to continue the story in a lot of different ways. In one way, I would like to keep the time jump thing. Do you remember an old Mike Richards film called Closer, with like Jude Law and Clive Owen?
That's a great film. Yeah.
And in that film, every scene, there's 1 year between every scene. Not for real in that film, but I thought about maybe that's something that could do. If I were to do like a series of Pierre West, like a TV show, one way to do it would be to see where the Eva Pierre relationship goes. I mean, there's the character could really go. I mean, I would love to see Pierre become a father. I have 3 kids. I know what a huge part of life it is to become a father, and how little you know before you're there. And to have a character like Pierre try to put on a diaper, just that scene makes it worth to write that sequel. We'll see what happens.
And he probably won't even put down the pastry while he's changing the diaper.
No. Well, we'll see what happens. But I mean, it takes so much time, and time is time is finite. So
time is finite. Oh, I learned that all the time, but it's wonderful that it's completed and out there now. And well, I guess we should wrap it up. Is there a website or social media specifically for Pierre West, or
no, or there isn't.
Should we just follow yours?
Yeah, sure. I try to update.
Just in case, like, if it's still on the festival circuit, people might have. First of all, people, if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this and you live in the LA area, put the first weekend of December on your calendar.
Yeah.
To see this and a bunch of other great films. But yeah, and hopefully it'll be out there for people to see. Well, you tell me if you want to share some links or social media stuff.
Yeah. Should I say it, or
feel free to say it, and then you can email it afterwards, so I make sure there's no typos.
Okay. Well, on Instagram, I'm called Fotohenka. So I'll email that so you can write it out. But on Instagram, I'm called Fotohenka. I try to update news regarding Pierre West. There's quite a few festivals in the US coming up. Recently got into what is it called? The city in Utah, Cedar something. Cedar, not Cedar Rapids, but Cedar. The festival is called Red Rock.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's so many festivals I can't. But I'm glad to hear the other, because I have heard other people tell me that getting into festivals does help them get into other festivals. And I was like, wow, I don't understand how other festivals work, but I'm glad you're getting in there. That's
yeah. So
I have a nephew in Utah. I'll tell him to go.
Yeah. Perfect.
Excellent. All right. Well, let me go on my closing wrap up. Mm-hmm. Well, first, thank you, Hanka, for this conversation. It was excellent, and thank you for submitting your film and for your enthusiasm. It's always great, always wonderful. For everyone listening, this was the Discover Indie Film Podcast. If you want to learn more about the podcast, you can go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. You did hear Hanka talk about, if you picked up on it, you did mention, like, we used to have an Amazon series that was born from this podcast using Prime Video Direct. And we got up to 7 seasons, and we had over 10,000 people a week watching the series. And then they pulled the plug on us and said, you can't be included with Prime anymore. You have to charge. So when that concept is reborn, hopefully it'll be another avenue for people to see Pierre West. But anyway, that was a funny tangent. But there is a TV series, but it's only the US and UK. I think I don't even think they let us put it in other regions, so I won't talk about it too much. But anyway, there's the Discover Indie Film TV series that was meant to complement the podcast, but I was too old and out of touch to realize that it should be YouTube instead of Amazon Prime. What do you know? We learn. We all learn as we age. So that's discoverindiefilm.com, by the way. Discoverindiefilm.org is the nonprofit that runs the 2 film festivals that I'm involved in. So go to discoverindiefilm.org to learn about that nonprofit. In June, like where we had the Los Angeles premiere of Pierre West, that was Film Invasion Los Angeles that we hold every June. If you want to learn more, it's filminvasionla.com, and it's at filminvasionla on social media. And this December and every December, and that was the 10th anniversary. I forgot to mention it. And now in December, we're going to have the 10th anniversary of the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. You can learn more if you go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at Sherman Oaks FF on social media. And I think that's all. And I always say those to our sister festivals. Next January, they get a cousin in Lima, Peru. We're going to have Film Invasion Lima in Lima, Peru. So just as we're checking flights to Los Angeles, I'm checking flights to Lima all the time, trying to grab them at a time that won't cause me too much pain. But I'll be going to Lima, Peru for a film festival next year. How exciting is that? Next January 2026, we met. There's a wonderful team down there. All right.
You going to Alaska?
No, it's at the Alaska thing is at the same time as ours. They're the same weekend.
Oh,
but they go longer. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Alaska, the Anchorage International Film Festival now has a festival runner who's one of our alumni, who picked my brain. He said, "I want to do things the way you do it at Film Invasion in Sherman Oaks," and I said, "Well, Alaska's pretty far away. I'll tell you everything I know." If he had a festival in the LA area, I might have been like, "Sorry, dude, you can't. Don't be stealing our ideas. But you can do our thing up in Alaska. Why not?" So anyway, and my understanding is they have a really cool, like they go hiking on a glacier and things. Yeah. We got no glaciers around Los Angeles, so I can't compete with that. We have almost no water. All right. I will shut up. Hanka, thank you again. Am I Henka, right?
Yeah.
Henka.
Yeah.
Not Han.
You're doing good.
Henka.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Henka. I'm going to, if we get another pet, I'll name it Henka.
Oh. I'll hold you to that.
Our current one is Winston, because that's John Lennon's middle name.
All right.
Which I guess he didn't like because it came from Churchill. But anyway, I will stop rambling. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for listening.